Strong Islam influence. In the Middle East, many buildings are very religious. They have a religious influence. They're usually run by religious leaders. In Egypt, the Greco-Roman period, they had big stadiums that would hold plays, such as the Oxyrhynchus, that holds over 10,000 people. Also, plays were held outside, and they talked about the gods such as Osiris and Ra, the sun god. Also, Israel has a strong theater. Shit, screwed up. I'm inside an Iranian theater, blown up and war-torn. This theater was built over 100 years ago, and it held many religious plays. Shit. We are here, inside an Iranian theater, built over 100 years ago. This theater held many religious plays, and were run by religious leaders. Islam has a strong influence in Iran and Iraq and most of the Middle Eastern countries. And the plays talked about many religious events. In Egypt, during the Greco-Roman period, buildings such as Oxyrhynchus held over 10,000 people. It was very similar to a Roman stadium. Also, many plays were held outside and talked about the Egyptian gods, such as Osiris and Ra, the sun god. Also, Israel has many plays and many theaters. The most famous theater in Israel is the Gesher Theater. Outside of an Iranian theater. This was built over 100 years ago and was destroyed by recent wars. These theaters are very religious, having a strong Islam influence. In Egypt, during the Greco-Roman period, such stadiums such as Oxyrhynchus held over 10,000 people. They were very similar to the Roman stadiums. Also, plays were held outside in fields or deserts. We are here outside of an Iranian theater. This was built over 100 years ago. It has a strong religious influence, Islam, and it's run by religious leaders. It was destroyed because of recent wars. In Egypt, during the Greco-Roman period, huge stadiums such as Oxyrhynchus held over 10,000 people. Okay, one more time. We are inside an old 100-year-old Iranian theater. It was destroyed by recent wars. Being kind of cliche on that. We're inside an Iranian theater, which was built over 100 years ago. It held many religious plays that were that depicted Islam's past. They were run by religious leaders. In Egypt, during the Greco-Roman period, huge stadiums, such as Oxyrhynchus, held over 10,000 people. These Egyptian theaters held plays about Egyptian gods, such as the sun god, Ra. Also, there are many plays in many theaters in Israel. The most famous theater is the Gesher Theater. It has a strong European influence, taking many plays from America and translating them into Hebrew. Back to you at the news studio. We are inside an Iranian theater, 100 years old. It has a strong religious influence. It had a strong religious influence. My bad. Yeah, do it one more time. Okay. We are inside an Iranian theater, which was destroyed by recent wars. It was 100 years old, and it held many religious theaters. Islam was the main religion in the Middle East, and their plays depicted many Islamic characters. In Egypt, during the Greco-Roman period, Oxyrhynchus held over 10,000 people. This was a stadium that that was very similar to the Roman stadiums. Also, in Israel, there are many theaters. The most famous theater is the Gesher Theater. This theater has strong European influence, as many of the theaters do in Israel. They use Western plays and translate them to Hebrew. Wait, what was I going to say after that? And that's it, right?
Yeah, but then...
Back to the newsroom.